This week I took a make or break, so to speak, and handed the tools over to our own Sarah Lee.
Yep, and I used the time to try a bunch of new techniques, and we hit 50,000 subscribers.
We did, and HART Tools wants to help us celebrate with a huge tool giveaway, so stick with us to find out how you can win.
Plus, we get to meet a new maker from Colorado, and we'll share a few of our favorite maker videos from the week. But first, it's time for a make or break.
Hey guys, I'm Rob.
And I'm Sarah, and this week I took a turn in the shop to make, well, anything I wanted. And I ended up trying several new things and making my biggest project yet. First off, this is Glenn. His channel DIY Creators is one of my all-time favorites. I love his projects. So when I decided I wanted to build shelves, I went to his channel first for inspiration. That's where I found this. His design is beautiful, but looks pretty easy to do. I had Rob make a model for me in SketchUp based on my own dimensions. From there, I bought the wood, headed into the shop, and started making. First order of business was to cut my shelves to size. I went with 42 inches wide and 10.5 inches deep. This was not going to be little, that's for sure. I used my square to mark my cut lines, and it made a good guide for my circular saw. I know I've said it before, but I love using this saw. Once they were all cut to length, I needed to square off the edges with the table saw. Not gonna lie, this tool still makes me nervous, and these shelves were not light, but it went smoothly enough. After I cut one side on each shelf, I moved the fence over and cut the other side. This gave me perfectly matched shelves. Next, I cut some 2x2s to length on the miter saw. I used a stop block to make sure they were all the same size. The verticals would be 72 inches and the cross supports matched the 10.5 inches of the shelves. Now the first new joint for me was the dowel. I had some 3/4 inch dowels laying around, so I used the 3/4 inch Forstner bit to drill a hole into the supports. I first had to find the right spot, which I did by drawing lines from the corners. The difficulty here was that I not only had to hit the exact spot, but I had to drill vertically, which I didn't always do. I was close, but several were a bit sideways. Fortunately, this technique was forgiving, and with a bit of glue and a few clamps, I had some very strong joints. While the frame dried, I sanded the shelves. When the frame was dry, I sanded it too, which helped me even up those joints as well. They ended up looking so good. Next, I applied a dark walnut stain to the frame. This stuff is really easy to use. I just applied it generously to the frame and then wiped it down with an extra rag. Then I applied a clear water-based finish to the shelves so they wouldn't change color. At this point, you're probably asking yourself, wasn't there a crossbar in the back? I asked the same question and then answered myself, yep, you forgot it, you idiot. So I let it all dry overnight. The next morning, I temporarily put it all together so I could measure out the crossbars. When they were in place, I marked where to cut them and got the job done on the miter saw. Then I marked where the pieces crossed each other. This is where the next new joint showed up. I had to chisel out a lap joint. I had never done this before, so Rob helped me learn on a piece of scrap. For each one, I had to cut the ends with a pool saw and then added a bunch of extra cuts, being careful not to cut too deep. Then I used a chisel to cut out the waste. This was not easy, but it was really fun. I got better with every attempt. Eventually, I just had to sand a bit and then they fit together perfectly. A bit of glue and a pair of screws and it was done. After sanding that, I started to screw the whole thing together. I clamped the crossbars in place first and screwed them into the frame. I was careful to countersink the holes so the screws sat flush. For the shelves, I used these little metal L brackets and they worked great. And that was it. Rob helped me load it up in my truck and my husband helped me get it into place when I got home. And I have to say, this is the nicest project I've ever done, and there's nothing I don't love about it. And when people come over, I get to say, I built that all by myself.
All right, Sarah, those shelves turned out absolutely beautiful, and it was really fun watching you take on all these new things and new challenges, but what was probably the biggest challenge for you?
Oh, the different joinery, the lap and dowel were obviously new and a welcome challenge. However, I'm still building confidence with the table saw, and that's taking some time.
Yeah, well, there's never a rush to become too familiar or comfortable with power tools, of course, and healthy respect is always needed.
Agreed, definitely. And while I'm getting more confident, I am making sure to maintain that level of respect.
Well, the shelves look fantastic. You did a good job.
Thank you. All right, but right now it is time to meet a maker. This week we got to talk with Daniel Godwin, a maker from Colorado.
Hi Rob and Sarah, thank you for having me on your segment. I really appreciate it. My name is Daniel Godwin and my Instagram channel is Danny Godwin. I'm new to the US and I love woodworking, and I post my daily life and adventure and woodworking projects on my channel, and I will shortly be starting my YouTube channel and posting my videos there as well. I think it would be the jigsaw, because I have projects that I make different shapes and sizes, so cutting those things, jigsaw has been very handy, and I love my HART tools jigsaw that I use at my shop. My all-time favorite project, I think it's going to be the fire hydrant display that I made for the place I work at. We have a small dog shop or section that we have in our souvenir store, and I made this cool fire hydrant looking thing to put the dog collars, so for us to display at the store. Yeah, I think that's my favorite, because I had to drill different types of things I've never made, so I built that, and that is my favorite project that I have done so far. Another channel that I really like in YouTube, I really like Jonathan Cat Moses, his channel. There are a lot of projects that are there and jigs, and he explains things very easy and simple and elegant, so it's easy to understand, and I really like his channel, and that is my one of my go-to channels for woodworking. My project that I'm working on now is just a night lamp that I'm making for my son. He just turned 2, and he's going through a phase where he needs lights in his room, so I'm making this lamp that I saw on Pinterest, and it's just with dowels and just concrete and wood. I think I'm going to skip the concrete part, but I'm going to make it out of pine wood and dowels. So that's the project I'm working on. I will be posting pictures on my channel, and my channel is Danny Godwin. It's just one word on Instagram. And I really appreciate Rob and Sarah for having me on your segment again. I appreciate it, and see you guys later.
Thanks so much, Daniel. If you guys are not already following him on Instagram, you can find him at Danny Godwin. Now, Sarah, were there any maker videos that you really enjoyed this week?
Oh, definitely. So the flood of DIY virtual learning desk keeps flowing. This week, Lazy Guy DIY shared a plan for a kid's desk that only cost $60 to make. Besides a very accessible design, they also left lots of room for creative customization that the kids got to express themselves and make each desk their own. It was awesome.
Ben from Woby Design is back making beautiful works of art from discarded skateboards, this time turning 28 boards into this remarkable tabletop. The best part's watching Ben get all pumped up to try this super expensive oil finish. And I'll tell you what, at $50 a jar, that stuff better be good.
And finally, Glenn from DIY Creators, the inspiration for my build this week, shared a plan to build a temporary paint booth in your garage using this really cool ceiling track. Now, spraying is something we've only tried a couple of times, and we always had to shoot outside. This would be a much better solution.
All right, so you guys may have noticed we hit a milestone this week.
50K!
Yep, and to celebrate, HART is giving away this awesome 4-tool kit with a 200-piece bit set.
They're also tossing in some safety glasses and markers.
Yep, and to enter the win, all you have to do is leave a comment on this video telling us about your own favorite project that you made this year.
Now you can also get an extra entry by following the link in our description to our Instagram page and leaving a comment there telling us a project you plan to do before the end of the year.
We want to thank our many sponsors, including HART, for supporting us and helping us reach this amazing milestone.
But of course, most of all, we want to thank all of you for watching.
Now, last week I used a rotary tool to make my first carved top, so you can click and watch that right here. Special thanks to HART for reminding us that we can build anything we can imagine if we do it with HART. All right, break's over.
Let's make something.